Okay, this is the grammar presentation that's on pages 342 and 343. And the information here is quite similar to the chart that we looked at last week that I've now moved down to this week, with the 3 exclamation points here, the summary of connecting words. A lot of the same information I'm going to be talking about now is also on this chart that we talked about before. It's really just kind of 2 sources of very similar information. Let's go now to the discussion from the book. And I've made some changes and additions. Now what are we doing here? Okay, let's make this a little bigger. I don't know quite why we're doing this, but okay. Okay, first of all, they show you examples of the 3 different kinds of connectors that we've already talked about, and examples of how you place them and how you do the punctuation. Okay, we've talked about the coordinating conjunctions, or fanboys. The fanboys is for, and, nor, be, but, or, yeah, and so there are only 7 of them in English. And they give you an example of how it goes in the middle of the sentence with a comma before it. I was worried, so I did some research. Okay, then we have the subordinating conjunction or adverbial expression and examples of how those work. These are the ones we were working with a lot in the previous lesson. Because I was worried, I did some research. Here I have it at the beginning, and then I have the comma. Okay, or I did some research because I was worried, and here the because is in the middle, so there's no comma. And now we have expressing the same idea with transition or a logical connector. I tend to call these logical connectors. Your book calls them transitions. And I've changed a little bit from what's in the book here. But you can use this as 2 sentences. I was worried, period, and therefore, comma, I did some research. Okay, here I put this in is a different way to do the same thing, and to use the semicolon instead of starting a new period. Instead of starting a new sentence. In your book, they have commas with this example that makes no sense to me. It really looks wrong the way they've done it in the book. I would write this with no commas in it. I was worried, I therefore did some research. Sometimes you can put it after the subject in this way. Or sometimes you can put the transition or logical connector at the end of the sentence. I was worried, I did some research, therefore. And here it is using the semicolon instead of the period. Okay. Okay, and here is going to be a chart very similar to the one we already talked about that outlines some of the functions of connectors. Okay, you've got the addition, condition, contrast. Okay, these different functions, different things that the connecting words do in a sentence, and then examples of a coordinating conjunction for addition, a transition for addition, or for example, go down here for contrast. These are the conjunctions you can use for contrast. Here are adverbial expressions that you can use for contrast. Here are logical connectors that you can use for contrast.